So in today's video, it's an ASMR video as usual, and I am going to showcase, feature, ramble about the Mindscapes Tarot. So I am absolutely over the moon about this deck. I have been waiting for it for years, literally, because I first saw his major arcana in his Etsy shop, which he had created, I think, after a Kickstarter campaign. Almost bought them, didn't, then they sold out. And I did not know he had an intention to, or was in the process of making a full deck. What I did do at that time is he also had a companion art book. So actually, I'm going to pull that out real quick and show you. I'll put a link to his Etsy shop. I don't know if there's still ones there or not, so let me, I forgot to have it out here. But he had this, well, you're not really going to be able to see this, are you? It's this huge, I mean, it's not super thick, but hardback that had spreads and such, but also had huge full color layouts of the cards as well as interpretations. And so I felt like, well, even though I don't have the cards, I can still have the images to look at. And if I really wanted to, just pull a different random page. So anyway, I'll put a link, in addition to the link to probably the Barnes and Noble, the one I'm going to use, a link. I will also put a link to his Etsy shop. I'm assuming it's still open, and then if not, I'll just put as many links as I can. If he has a personal website, Etsy, all that. So let's go ahead and get into the deck itself. What I'm going to do, probably first, I'll show you the box. Obviously, you can see the back of the card. Before I actually get into starting to go through the cards, I want to read a little bit about what he wrote in his book. For a couple reasons. One, I think it will help in looking at the deck, and two, I think there's a couple things I'd like to say that it sort of, that I appreciated or made me think about. So one cool thing is inside the box, it says prepare to embark. There's an image, and then sort of a final image when you've arrived. Normally, I don't really care a huge deal about boxes, except that I'd rather something not be a tug box. But I actually saw a video where the guy was sort of explaining that part of that for him. I mean, I always think of, I don't want to destroy the box, but he put it in better words, not a better focus, which was, it helps you to take care of the cards, like make sure they stay well taken care of for years to come. And I fully agree that a good box is a good box. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little more there. So let me read from the guidebook, and maybe what I'll do too, I don't normally do this, but I'll go ahead and have a card up and down, so you just have something to look at while I ramble or read. I consider reading ramble. So the first thing he talks about in the introduction is actually, he says, the stay-at-home order came on March 13th, 2020. We thought it would last for weeks, a month at most. We obeyed the order and remained inside, making greasy snacks and watching silly TV and drinking more than usual. Around the country, sanitary products and toilet paper were hard to come by. In New York City, these items were downright, I always mispronounce this word, scarce. Grocery stores' aisles were ransacked, post-apocalyptic. first we laughed and wondered at the madness. And then a week stretched into months, months into a year, and then even longer. The loss we heard about on the news and then firsthand was shocking, then eerily commonplace. We resisted the impulse to normalize. When I read back through my journals from the time, I sound like a person coming undone, fraying at the edges. I don't recognize myself. I'm not religious, but the coronavirus pandemic forced me to turn inward as I deepened my spiritual practice, trying to control things on a micro level if I could do nothing for the macro. I cobbled together scraps of ritual and tradition from different areas of my life, establishing my own eclectic practice, trying to find some sense of stasis, balance, normalcy, and love. I burned a lot of candles and tried not to burn down the house. My partner Kevin encouraged me to focus my anxious energy on an art project that had been in the back of my mind, a brand new deck of tarot cards, my own creation. And so then he talks about that process. Now, the first thing I wanted to say is number one, John, if you ever listen to that, I really appreciate that you started with COVID. I mean, obviously, you're telling us your story of how to get there, but I feel like a lot of that is getting, sorry, some fell over. A lot of that is getting lost, I feel like, in our collective memory, and not by new people, like not by the people who were born in 2020 and are now like 5 years old. But I think many people want to forget, and so it basically, if you look in a lot of popular culture, memes and stuff, it's books, it's almost as if it never happened. And even if you look at things like, let's say, I always use the Weather Channel as an example. They have a flu and cold forecast, but they don't include COVID, even though COVID still, I believe, if I remember the statistics right, kills more people than the flu. So why would we not include that? But my guess is there's either something political or, again, there's some part of us that just doesn't want to remember and is not in any necessarily intentional way, but from trauma or whatever, wants to bury that. So I really appreciate an acknowledgement that was real. That excuse me, I'm not crying, I'm just with a frog in my throat. That was real. That happened. It had an effect on people. And even reading that, it makes me wonder if I'd have to look at the timelines, but if a lot of the sort of explosion in tarot and oracle decks came out of that there were a lot of people who were focusing their artistic practices, maybe people who tarot and oracle users who realized, like, you know what, I have some more time, I'm at home more, and even if you were someone who had to work during like lockdown periods, that, well, yeah, but you couldn't go out at night or something, so there was just more space for that to happen. So it just made me think of a lot of things like that, and it also, I don't really talk about on here because it's an ASMR tarot oracle thing, but one of my real frustrations is that besides people forgetting that it happened, they forget that it never stopped happening. You know what I mean? It may not be like 2020 or 2021, but the effects of getting it can be extremely serious. People who have compromised immune systems, and you'd be surprised how many of them are there. The people with disabilities. So our sort of like flagrant disregard. I don't mean that you necessarily have to wear a mask every time you go out the door, but it's like wearing a mask on a plane, wearing a mask in a crowded thing. We just act like none of that matters, and it bothers me, makes me sad. Sometimes it makes me angry because I have family members that's affected, I have friends that's affected, and yeah, so trying to forget COVID bothers me. Ignoring precautions that are, just on a regular flu season would be a good idea, right? Like, if you're traveling in a, like, box over the sky, might be worth it. And usually when I do, and I've gone on some long flights, like 17-hour flights, so people are like, well, I can't do it for that long. It's like, you can do it for that long. But you usually see a few people, right? But I also think people who may, again, I think it's just complex. I think besides like putting aside political stuff, that some people would be like, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't care about any of this. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking about that because we're here to talk about Mindscapes. But John, thank you for including that. I mean, I know it's part of the story of why this came about, but I'm glad that's even the very first thing you talk about, because we're forgetting, or we like to pretend that like it didn't happen, culturally, at least. And I'm glad that culturally you've made something that acknowledges it did. It also acknowledges you made something transformative out of that pain and fear and sadness. So there's a couple different things. He uses new sweets, or not new sweets, but he's rewritten sweets to be the wands are called branches, the tides are cups, the spires are swords, and the stones are pentacles. He uses colors to give extra meaning and association, and I won't read all those out because neither you nor I'm gonna probably remember as we go through. But just so you know that if you were to get this deck, like these different layers that you can use. He also, let's see, he has symbols that he has. There's 3 different types here, which is, let's see, he has a nice little picture that lays it out. This is the astrological ruler. This is the signature, and this is a shorthand sigil. So he made sigils with his name. So we've got color, we've got sigils. The other thing that I think is really cool, and I think I'll talk more about this as we go through, is that and by the way, these are all hand done pictures, that says, I am telling the story as the voyage of a stowaway on a sailing ship, each card representing a stop along the way towards some final, fantastic, unknown destination. And let me see, there was another thing as I was reading through. I didn't read every section, but I read a bunch of the front sections. Okay, I chose one landscape per suit that changes gradually over time. Forest and the branches, ocean and the tides, peaks and the spires, and structured society in the stones. And again, I like this acknowledgement. It says, in many ways, death is the hallmark piece of the Mindscapes Tarot and encapsulates the deck's creation in the midst of COVID-19. The pandemic era was marked by intense and often unexpected loss of life, job, security, identity, control, and purpose. The death card represents all of those things and prescribes the painful yet necessary action of letting go and moving forward. And so, I don't disagree with the letting go and moving forward. I do, and he didn't say he's not doing this, is that, remembering can be part of letting go. So, like, you can remember and move forward and still take some precautions to help those of us around. I said those of us that included me. It doesn't include family members, but those folks who don't have the luxury of protection, and an acknowledgement that even if you were to do nothing, at least an acknowledgement of all the deaths that are still happening and all the long COVID that's still happening around us that we just bear. It's not so like we bury, we don't hear about it in the news, people don't talk about it. But anyway, so I really appreciate that he's made something transformative out of this and it very explicitly acknowledges it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and look at the cards. It's already been 15 minutes of me basically rambling about COVID. So unlike other times, I'm actually going to go in order on purpose. So I've never pulled a card for myself. So here's the Fool. Then we have the Magician. And the real beauty probably does not, I mean it does, but not as much as it's even, let me rephrase that. It's even more beautiful in person, the High Priestess. Because of the art style, I think sometimes the way my video's set up, it doesn't always bring out the sharpness. So here's the Emperor. And so these Major Arcana were done first, like I said, the Hierophant. And we're done, and we're funded in a Kickstarter. When that book was created, The Lovers. And it was later that the Chariot, that the other suits, or that the suits were the Minor Arcana were done straight like that. It reminds me of like Wyoming or somewhere out in the West where there's like a ranch, you know, in front of the Grand Tetons or something. The Hermit. The back of the cards themselves are beautiful. The Wheel of Fortune. I know some people use spiders for that, and I actually really think that's a great way to represent the Wheel of Fortune, justice. So it's like it's good fortune for the spider, bad fortune for the fly. The Hanged One. So you've got the polar bear, melting ice sheets. So you can definitely feel that there. Death. This feels like, I don't know if it's meant to or not, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War in America. Temperance. The Devil. This reminds me, I don't know if it's meant to or not, of New Orleans streetcars. There's a couple that remind me of New Orleans, and I don't know if that's on purpose or not. The Tower. If I remember right from the guidebook, he says, you know, some of the images are taken from, you know, inspired by different places and mythologies. The star. I really like this. It also really reminds me of Big Bend National Park in Texas. Of the St. Helena Canyon, if you've ever been there. The Moon. I believe in the book he said that's actually the first card he ever did. The Sun. Judgment. So this was another one that reminded me. It looks like the French, to me it looks like the French Quarter. Again, it may not be. Maybe it's actual France. But because that's in, you know, it looks like something I've seen. The World. I like that there's a lot of vistas in this book. In this deck. The Catacomb. And the Great Work. And those two, I believe he said, are like extra cards, extra arcana. And so now we get into the Minor Arcana. And I want to say something about this as we go along, as I pull the cards, which is that So you now see 2 branches, 2 trees. You now see 3 trees. I'm not usually someone who likes a pip deck, and I wouldn't call this a pip deck, but I think it's like somewhere between a pip deck and not a pip deck, right? It's not like he doesn't just show like, oh, okay, here's 4 sticks, but it has that simplicity on it, and I don't mean that in a bad way. His art and his thought process is really amazing, but you can see it's simple in terms of saying like, hey, this is, you could look, even if this was gone here at the bottom, you could count the things in the image and know where you were. And and I believe he says this in the deck, each suit tells a story, and that reminds me a little bit of there's 8 of branches. James R. Eads, like Prism of Visions and Cosmovisions. You know, like this is the 9 of branches, where it's different in that, like this isn't one like that one where you like put them next to each other and it like is like a panorama, 10 of branches. But what it does tell, like you can feel the story. And it's not a lot of tarot decks, right, are about story, page of branches, or maybe all tarot decks. But what I like about this is that that's made explicit. It's not like, oh, this dog represents this cat represents this for each card, and you're trying to map yourself into it. 9 different branches, or map your life into it, or someone else's life. This is the Queen of Branches. Instead, it's sort of made explicit that movement forward, almost like it mirrors the major arcana in that way, but in the simplified way that the minor arcana kind of are, right? So the Ace of Tides, we have, so we're now into the Cups. The Ace of Tides is interesting, like the branches, it was sort of explicitly like the tree branches. And with the tides, you get a little more complex in terms of, there's always the water, but what the number is changes. So in this case, the first one looks like the ace was the actual sun. The 2 of Tides is the birds. The 3 of Tides, the dolphins, but always in the context of the ocean. The 4 of Tides, it's the stars. The 5 of Tides, the stones. The 6 of Tides, I counted them, I think it's the clouds. The 7 of Tides, again we have the stars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we have the stars. The 8 of Tides, here we have the lightning bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we have the 9 of Tides. I haven't counted them yet, but I think it's the sun rays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. Then we have the 10 of Tides, the birds. We have the Page of Tides. And I don't know if this is meant this way or not, but I see the court cards is getting sort of like more complex as you go. So like the Page of Tournament, Cove, the Knight is like braving the seas. The Queen is on sort of more solid ground with the lighthouse. And the King is this big structure. Well, you see a piece of it, but and here we have the spires. So these are going to be the ones with the mountains, peaks as the center. So you see we have 2 peaks there, 3 peaks here. This one must have been, or maybe not for me. This would probably have been the hardest to do if I was creating something. Like easiest and hardest, maybe easiest to draw, hardest to differentiate, because like with the tides, right, you have different things like stars, sun rays, birds, rocks that you can call on to illustrate the number. Whereas with peaks, it's finding different creative ways of demonstrating the peaks, and some may just be things like color differentiation, right? There's the number, but also the color. This is a really neat one. The 9 of Spires. The 10 of Spires. The Page of Spires. So we have a hot air balloon. Or more than one, because you're in one there. The Knight of Spires you're in. I'm assuming if not a plane, then a helicopter. Some sort of mechanical thing here. You're in the bird's nest. Up in like an eyrie, yes. The King of Spires looks like maybe mountain climbing, like Mount Everest or something like that. And then here we get to the stones. This is the only one I've looked at that I haven't quite grasped the number of buildings, because there's the one in front, the ace, but then the 2, there's these 2, but then there's 2. Maybe it's meant to sort of see them as 2 and 2. I'm not sure. Because we get sort of a similar thing. There's like 3 in the foreground and 3 in the background. And then things get more complex. We got the, maybe it's only supposed to be the foreground, because we get 1, 2, 3, 4. But you can definitely tell in the stones how much more growth through the cards. You know what I mean? Like, because it's focused on the building of this town, right? And so when he talks about moving through the cards, it is really interesting going through the ways they set it up, because you're kind of going through this forest, and you're taking this right across the ocean, and then you end up on, climbing up a mountain until you get to this city. That's just one way of looking at it. The 10 of Stones, I want to look more into this. Yeah, I guess it's here that this wonderful, huge civilization, give it enough time, civilization turns to dust, no matter which one we're in. Page of Stones, and at which part in that cycle we're at. Knight of Stones. Queen of Stones. It's really beautiful. And the King of Stones. So that's the deck. What I'd like to do now is, it's already been about half an hour because I babbled on and on about COVID, which I'm tempted to redo this video, but one, I don't like to redo videos because I do this for fun, and I'm not going to spend like 4 hours making a video. But also, you know what, I don't get to talk about stuff about COVID enough, because that would be annoying in conversations with human beings. This is my platform, so I'm going to talk about it. So I'm shuffling the cards, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, I think I will do a 3-card pull and just do my best. It may end up just being me basically reading and not really being able to pull something for myself. I'm pretty tired. My energy's very low. So what I think I'll do is do that, because minimum you can see the images, you can hear the book, you can pause it and then think about your own situation. So I've shuffled the cards. I'm now cutting the cards in fives. And on top of that, I'm going to pull from different places in the deck since they're not going to be well shuffled yet. So that was from the top. And then I'll pull 2 from the middle. I love these backs. Just stare at the backs. I don't know what it is about a blue deck, but I guess blue is supposed to be a calming color. Maybe that's why. Even though the image is also like storms. It might look kind of stormy still. I like that. Alright, so let's see. We have the 5 of Stones. And what I'll probably do is bring up, we have the 5 of Tides. It'd be really crazy if we got the 5 of something else, at least in mind. Close, the 4 of Branches. But we got one from each suit. I told you my brain's. So let me look at the cards first. Obviously, if you want to look at them your own, pause, check it out. I'm now also going to pull it closer so we can kind of see there's a person, some people, the cities coming together, the 5 of Tides, there's the rock. Are you on shore? Are you on a small island? Are you at the prow of a boat? That's up to you. I almost see it as like you're standing, looking out because the waves look like they're going, at least one of them may be. And right, it's kind of going, like it's going to be going over the stuff. So imagining like a rocky shore. And then with the 4 of Branches, you can see it starting to gather fruit. Maybe some apples or something. So let's read those now. So we have the 5 of Stones. Oh, and I don't know if I showed you. I showed you that nice school art book, but check out this mini guidebook for guidebook goblins like me out there. The 5 of Stones. Keywords: destitution, loss, abandonment, misfortune, financial strain, despair, lack of faith. The planet and zodiac are Venus and Taurus. The element is Earth. Symbols: sandstorm, tower with open door, destruction, figures in blue and orange. A raging sandstorm whips through the city, leaving the dwellings in the foreground in destitution and disrepair. Beyond the crumbling gate, the more opulent structure seems somewhat protected from the storm, implying an imbalance. This disparity can be interpreted as financial or socioeconomic, the haves versus the have-nots. Nonetheless, the tower's spire glints in the dim light like a beacon, reminding you that help is available if you seek it. A figure rushes toward the open door, while another figure awaits, arm outstretched. They wear opposite robes of blue and orange, reminding you to seek out those who complement you and counterbalance your own shortcomings. Journal prompts. The concept of money makes me feel ... What are my current areas of struggle or lack? 3 qualities I seek in others include ... 10 supportive people, resources, or communities include ... How can I reach out for help when I am feeling low? And so I like it when people include journal prompts because it's a good way to kind of open it up for if you are doing like 1-card pulls. Like I'll do a series of 1-card pulls of this deck, and that's a really good way of kind of helping you make that meaningful to you. You don't have to use them, but it can be helpful, and it can be helpful if you're a journaler just to like maybe you're having a ball just want to spice it up. So let's go ahead to the next one, and then I'll start seeing if I can see something that jumps out for me in particular, how I see the cards talking to one another. So we've got the Five of Tides, keywords: loss, grief, disappointment, separation, crisis, salvaging the remains, silver lining. Okay, makes a lot of sense coming after the Five of Stones. The planet and zodiac are Pluto and Scorpio. I also agree. Planet should still include Pluto, even if it's scientifically not. But growing up with Pluto having been a planet, I'm sorry, but it will always be a planet to me. Element: water. Symbols: stormy skies, silver-edged clouds, distant sunlight, choppy seas, flotsam. Amid stormy skies and choppy seas, remnants of a shipwreck or a calamitous event drift as flotsam upon the water's surface. Shadowy clouds loom overhead and cast a pall over the scene, yet a glimmer of hope emerges as distant sunlight breaks through and illuminates the edges of the clouds with a golden glow. This juxtaposition of light and shadow serves as a poignant reminder to seek out the silver linings in times of loss, grief, and disappointment. As you confront the wreckage of your own trials and tribulations, heed the call to salvage what remains and forge a path forward. Embrace the opportunity to confront your shadow self, acknowledging the complexities of your emotions and experiences. Reflect on the lessons learned from adversity and commit to finding strength and resilience in the wake of crisis. Journal prompts. A recent setback that ended up having a silver lining was. Number 2 is 10 of my current fears or insecurities include. I'm going to stop saying the ... I think you understand where it's going. Number 3 ways I avoid my shadow self include. 4, a moment when my shadow self worked to my advantage was. 5, list 3 unexpected blessings or serendipitous moments. And then let's go to the Four of Branches. All right, keywords: harvest, celebration, joy, reward, fruition, appreciation, and security. The planet and zodiac are Venus and Aries, element fire, symbols: fruiting trees, ladder, cart, apples, autumn, and sunset. 4 large fruiting trees dominate the view at the end of an autumn day. The ladder is propped against the foremost tree, while a cart overflowing with apples waits below. It is a time of harvest and bounty. The trees in the full cart symbolize the rewards of hard work. The toil and activity of the summer months is over. Now you can celebrate the fruits of your labor and stock up for the coming winter. Embrace the moment and revel in the joy of success. Now is the time to appreciate your accomplishments. Acknowledge your achievements, express gratitude, and take a moment to revel in the abundance surrounding you. What can you be grateful for in this period of fruition? Journal prompts. 5 things I am grateful for are: to celebrate my achievements, I can. Today I will express appreciation for my hard work by. 5 things that contribute to my sense of safety, security, and bounty are. How can my past successes boost my confidence for future endeavors? So, those are the 4. I'd say, for me, what I see is definitely a natural progression from, like, if you're looking at grief or a horrible change or something, from destruction, sort of to sadness about that loss, to sort of a new life. For me personally, that is very spot on. I feel like that's what I see in all of my 3-card readings basically at the moment. But I don't feel like I'm here yet. I think I'm still, which makes sense if you saw this as past, present, future. This is definitely where I'm at right now. That's definitely where I was at before. I hope this is where I get to some of it's not knowing, after destruction, am I going to go east, west, north, south, up, down, sideways, I don't know. Am I going to stay on land? Am I going to go into the water? Am I going to go into the sky? I'm not sure. If I were to read this in terms of this picture, it would be going to land, right? Planting seeds, looking for fruition, but I don't know. So because I rambled for so long at the beginning about COVID, I'm probably not going to look deeper for myself. One, also because I feel like it just it's a sort of a slap in the face of like, yep, you are not escaping this. Like, this did happen to you. I mean, I wasn't in a sandstorm, but might as well have been. This is definitely where I am. And again, like I said, I hope it can be there. Let's see if, oh no, I don't want that. I picked up a card. Oh, that's because I didn't shuffle it yet. Yeah, maybe I'll see. I'm gonna pick one from the middle. The Four of Spires. Let's do that too, because we don't have a spire yet, and that'll give you a sense of that suit. And then we can call it a day. The Four of Spires. Keywords: respite, recovery, meditation, truce, regrouping, introspection, healing, withdrawal. Planet and zodiac is Venus and Libra. Element is air. Symbols: sloping mountains, mist, visible brushstrokes, greenery. Misty mountains rise gently. Their sloping silhouettes inviting a sense of tranquility and introspection. The soft contours and subtle hues evoke a feeling of Zen meditation, urging you to embrace a moment of respite and recovery. This artwork draws inspiration from the serene tradition of Asian landscape painting, characterized by translucent washes and delicate brushstrokes. In this tranquil setting, there is no rush for action or resolution. Instead, it's a time for quiet contemplation and inner healing. As you gaze upon the calm scene, allow yourself to let go of tension and stress and immerse yourself in the peaceful ambiance. Take a moment to breathe deeply, clearing your mind of clutter, finding solace in the present moment. Embrace this opportunity for introspection and self-care, allowing yourself the time and space to regroup and recharge. By prioritizing your well-being and nurturing your inner peace, you pave the way for renewal to flourish in your life like the greenery in the scene's foreground. Journal prompts. The last time I felt truly at rest was when. Distractions to avoid during restful periods include moments when I feel most in need of mental rest and regeneration are 10 activities or environments that help me relax and unwind are, and how can I prioritize more meditative moments in my daily routine. Alright, I'm really glad I pulled that because it really, and said it here, because I feel like it really is the slope to get you there. So it sounds like someone in my family is coming to the tour. So I'm going to go ahead and wish you a good day, and I hope you got something out of this today. As always, love to hear in the comments if something from the pictures or the deck or the readings, not my reading of myself, I mean, I guess you could, but the readings in the book spoke to you, and I hope to see you again soon.